Let's talk about roadblocks and constraints. Are there any particular themes that emerge in terms of what holds people back from achieving their goals or hitting that fork in the road that you refer to?
Yeah, Stephen, I'd say obstacles are things that hold us back. And most of them are things that we're unaware of. They happen at an unconscious level. And some of them call them insecurities. There's many different names, habits or patterns or behaviour patterns or thought patterns. We all have them. And some of us are better at masking them than others. And, age or experience or seniority really don't make any difference here. It's, for me, it's a differentiator. If we're able to address those particular obstacles, we're going to break through thresholds and barriers. And, the typical ones are people's fears, that we harbour a fear of failure or a fear of being found out or maybe even a fear of success or a fear of being rejected. And these are seen as weaknesses, so executives are very reluctant to talk about them. And it's also a lonely place, so who is it that they could confide in to share something this personal? If we look at wives or husbands or partners, even executive assistants, subjectivity is going to get in the way of being able to talk to those. If we talk to peers, they could be competitors. This is sometimes quite different, difficult to maintain objectivity as well. We certainly can't talk to the boss about it. We don't want to be too open about that. And who knows which subordinates are sawing at our chair. So it's actually very difficult to know who can we confide in to talk about these things. Who can I actually trust? And so most people don't. And I think working with a coach, if you can build that rapport and that trust-based, confident relationship, that's an impartial person who has no agenda other than what it is that that executive wants to deal with. And this is where I think the coaching relevance comes into its own very strongly.
I'd like to look at self-awareness and how important that as a topic is. Is that something you see as being critical in the process?
Yep.
Is that also what a coach is looking to address?
Very much so. So these are the blind spots that we have. And, the behaviour that we have, that we portray is very, very strongly influenced by our conditioning. Things that happen to us, events that happened decades ago that we gave meaning to at the point in time, which was the best that we could at that point, those have morphed into beliefs which shape our thinking, shape our outlook, shape our decision making. And because they're at an unconscious level, we're not aware of them. And so if we go back to Carl Jung, he made a beautiful observation in my opinion. He said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life, and we will call it fate. So this awareness of the things that are happening at an unconscious level is not that easy to address on your own. But with a thinking partner and somebody who's challenging your thinking, that will notice or observe language, limiting language, that are an indication of limiting beliefs, we can dig into that. And very often we will uncover something that the executive wasn't aware of. So we're not psychologists, or nor are we counsellors or any therapists or anything like that. But just listening and observing very carefully to people's language can be a signpost. And it is our job to make the executive aware of that, and we can then pursue where that might have its origin. And the next thing the person realises, hang on a minute, that was made in the head. Now I get excited when people recognise that, because they can realise, well, then I can make a new one in my head as well, and off we go.
When it comes to choosing and working with a coach, to what extent is context important? Is it important that the coach understands the industry you're coming from and some of the aspects of your job, or is that a hindrance?
Yeah, I often wonder about that. I don't like that to get in the way. Stephen, if we differentiate between coaching and mentoring, mentoring is where somebody less experienced or younger is wanting to go a similar path to somebody more experienced or older. And so there is an element of advice. Yeah? And I'm very wary of, as a coach, to not give advice. You have all the answers within you. My job is to ask the right incisive questions so that you come to the answers, because then you'll own them and implement them. This is where, context is very important. Where I think I can bring context because of my executive background is that it makes it more relatable, and people can recognise, this is in fact lickable. This isn't just me. This is fairly typical. This is not overly complex. This person brings to the party a similar experience. I can take confidence from that. And so I'm quite circumspect where we differentiate between coaching and mentoring in a coaching program. And I'll always ask for permission to mentor rather than coach when I'm about to do that.
Okay. To what extent is coaching relevant to personal attributes in your life? Does what you do on the job translate into your personal life as well?
Very. I think the holistic aspect of our lives, we are people and we are business people. And when we come to the workplace as a people. We bring attitudes with us, we bring personal outlooks to us, we bring all those personal attributes that make us who we are. But we also bring professional skills to the party. And here we're talking about competence, skills, our ability to harness challenges and to bring outcomes to that particular organisation. And in doing so, we create a career for ourselves. So I don't think that we can see those two separately. I think when we hire somebody, we bring both those aspects into the business. And so my belief when it comes to leadership is that the people that maximise and manage to really reap the best outcomes out of our people are the ones that can look at somebody from a holistic point of view and take all those attributes into account.
Can some of the outcomes you're looking to achieve with the people you work with be extended into their personal life as well, or are they just purely beneficial within the workplace?
Stephen, let's answer that from two perspectives. The one is, if we do encounter obstacles that are holding us back and we are able to break through those are most often found at a personal level. This is about attitude, about beliefs, about wiring, about habits. And I think if we're able, working with a coach, to break through those, they will very definitely affect both domains, the personal domain and the business domain. There are aspects, you see, this is about the way we see ourselves, the way we are seen by others, and the way that we are seen to be performing. And I think that you can't separate the two. So my experience has been, when there has been a breakthrough, when there has been a real outcome for an individual, that both the people at home notice the difference, but very definitely the people at work notice the difference as well.
In terms of one's career, would you say there's a particular point where you should engage a coach? For example, when you hit that roadblock, is that the time to do it, or should you be looking at doing it earlier than that?
That's a very interesting question, and I think that as many people as you'd ask their experience of having worked with a coach, you'd probably get as many different answers, and it's very circumstantial. A fork in the road, for example, I've had a few forks in the road. I spoke very earlier on about a fork in the road that was imposed upon me. So when we part company with an organisation, that is an external factor, all right? I had an internal factor. For example, mid-30s, I chose to emigrate from South Africa and to emigrate to Australia. That was a personal fork in the road. I saw a whole bunch of outlooks that didn't fit with my value system and the way that I saw the world, and I realised that I needed to do something about that. So that's an internal one, and both are equally relevant. From the perspective of relevance, though, if we're working at a level of success and we want to keep building on that success, then reinventing ourselves becomes a very important skill, and it becomes an attitude. My experience is that people that are serious about doing that will ask themselves, how can I best do this? What can I do myself? Where can I in my network call on people that can assist me with this? And a lot of people, and a growing number of people, are coming to the conclusion, well, actually, this is where the coach is objective, has no agenda, is the unbiased running mate or thinking mate. That's where I'm going to invest, and I'm going to see how I can utilise external perspectives for me to assist me in that fork in the road.
Okay.